Shabbat Shalom. I'm thrilled to be here as part to acknowledge Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month. This is, as somebody said earlier, it happens across North America in February. While there are many subjects that we can talk about today, I wanted to focus on the concept that resonates really deeply with me, and that is the importance of belonging. Belonging is more than just being present in a space. It is the feeling of being valued, accepted, and understood for exactly who you are, with all your unique strengths, because we all have those, and your challenges. It is knowing that your voice matters, and that your contributions are meaningful, and that you are an integral part of any community. Our Jewish tradition emphasizes that inherent worth and dignity is in part of every human being. This principle extends to everybody in our community, regardless of their abilities or their disabilities. The Torah teaches us to love our neighbor as ourselves, and that love must encompass all who seek place within our Jewish family. Disability affects us all. The research tells us that 1 in 4 people will have a disability at some point in their lives, whether it's short-lived or long-lived. That's 25% of us. So if we're not taking care of people when we are not living with a disability, who's going to take care of us when we are? Disabilities also are visible and invisible. So we don't know who has a disability necessarily. We just assume because maybe we see a cane, or maybe we see a walker, or we see somebody with hearing aids. We don't know what disabilities people are living with that are invisible. Many individuals with disabilities will face significant barriers to belonging within our Jewish community. And unfortunately, people with disabilities have told us that. One part I didn't say is that I sit on a committee, the Federation Committee, Subcommittee for Inclusion, part of the community planning. And we heard from our Jewish members who say, we don't feel like we belong. We don't necessarily feel like there's a place for us. How can we make that change? What can we do so that everybody who walks into this building, into Gray Academy, into the Rady JCC, at Schmoozers feels welcome and feels that they belong. Barriers can be physical, such as inaccessible buildings. So buildings without ramps, buildings where, and I don't know how many times, because I test each one, I've pushed the button for the automatic doors to open, and they don't work. That's inaccessibility. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a ramp and thought, no one can get up or down this because it's full of ice and snow. That's, well, we might build the ramp, but we haven't created an accessible ramp. And many of our programs are not accessible to people who live with disability. So I don't like to come down on our host, my host. I'm here as a guest. But the screens today were fantastic for many people who have visual impairment. But if they were closed captioned, we would have captured more people feeling like they could be here. So people who can't use the wonderful devices, because some people can't use hearing devices, let them read what they're learning. A lot of people who live with autism are visual learners. So they can hear what we're saying, but unless they see it, they're not going to learn it. So that's a way to increase accessibility. So you've got a little project now to work on. And most of our problem in creating a sense of belonging for people is attitudinal. And that stems from prejudice. Some of us have prejudice, misunderstanding, or just a lack of awareness. So yes, this is Jewish Disability Awareness Month, but every month people live with disabilities. So if we can increase our awareness, we can increase people's sense of belonging. we don't mean to stop other people from belonging. We're all probably good people in our hearts. Like, I hope to think that I am, generally good, but I am sure I do things that make people feel not included. And so you have to sort of be reflective of your own self and of the policies of whatever organization you're representing to see how they're unintentionally excluding people. We just need to be aware. We have to make the unconscious conscious. We have to be mindful in observing how our own behavior affects other people. Small things. I'm going to feel like I belong more when I come into an organization's front desk and they greet me to my face, even if I'm in a wheelchair. Because it's so easy just to say hello, or it's so easy just to talk to the support person with somebody. Talk to me. I'm the one in the chair. Or say to me, I need you to fill out these forms. Do you need help? Do you need assistance in filling out these forms? Because people who've many times not been able to do something are not going to try it again. They're going to stay home. The consequence of exclusion is profound. When people are denied access to the Jewish life, they miss out on many wonderful opportunities like spiritual growth, social connection, and communal support. And you know what? Our community suffers too. If people with disabilities stay home, we're deprived of their unique gifts, their perspectives, and their contributions. It is in our power to help people in the community belong. So, how are we going to do this? Well, I have a list of 6 or 7 things that I'm going to tell you that you can do today that might just change the way you approach the topic of belonging. We can educate ourselves. And one of the things I urge you to educate yourselves is in learning the terminology that people who live with disabilities want us to use. People who live with disabilities have been very clear that they don't want to be labeled by their disability first. That's for most people. Some people do, and that's their right. But the majority of people don't want to be called actually, the one community that doesn't mind being labeled by their disability first is autistic people. So I wouldn't call somebody a lame person. I would call somebody a person who needs assistance in walking. You just don't want to name the label, the disability first. I don't want to be known as the girl with gray-brown hair. That's not how I want to be labeled, and that's the most visible thing I have. Challenge your own biases. Many of us, and as an educator, every time I get a new student who comes, I'm like, oh, they're never going to learn to read. And then you know what? I challenge my own bias and I figure out a way to help them, and maybe they will read. Maybe they will learn to greet somebody. So you have to challenge your can't do bias, because that's, one we have. But just challenge your biases and be honest about that with yourself. We just assume people don't want to come because they don't come. But that's a bias. Be an advocate or an ally. When you see somebody struggling on a ramp, or you notice that the automatic doors don't work, help them first and then say something. If you're at EQ3, like I was, and the door doesn't work, just go to the manager or to somebody and say, hey, your automatic doors don't work. Can you put somebody at the doors to help people who need access? Or could you get your doors fixed quick? Little things like that. A lot of ramps are built too steep. They're beautiful and they look great, and I'm looking at that ramp and it's a beautiful ramp. It's exactly to code. But some are too steep. And so if you see somebody using a walker or a wheelchair at the top of a ramp, just help them. People don't mind. Don't go up to them and say, I'm going to help you. You go up to someone and say, I'm here to help if you need it. Is there anything I can do? And create opportunities for people to participate fully in Jewish rituals, not just in Jewish Disability Month, every Shabbat, every dinner, Shabbat dinner, every Pesach. Have a place for people who communicate differently, who might need smaller crowds, who might just need more space around them. Have place for those people. And do all of this with intention. And last but not the least is be welcoming in a adult, respectful way. So, you know, I might be somebody who lives with autism. It's pretty obvious that I am nonverbal. If you come to me and go, hi, welcome, I don't feel valued. But anyone who welcomed me in today, and I felt very welcome, they said, hi, we're happy to see you. Hi, thank you for being here. So that's how we want to talk to people who live with a disability. We don't want to talk down to anybody. We certainly don't want to make them feel like children. So be welcoming, but be intentionally welcoming. In conclusion, people belong when they're welcomed. When their needs are met, and tiny little needs, and their participation is valued, belonging benefits us all. And let us remember the words of Jonathan Sachs, who said, inclusion is not just about letting people in. Inclusion is making them feel that they belong. So as an educator for years, if a child is sitting at the back of the class and not participating with the other students, that's not inclusion. That's placeholding. If you want somebody to be included, you have to help them develop social roles that are valuable and that they have a value within the space that they're in. So let's all strive to create a Jewish world where everyone belongs, where everyone is valued, and where everyone can thrive. Thank you.